Now on Sunday, President Trump gave a long interview on CBS about his healthcare plan, North Korea, some other stuff. Now, the part that I want to focus on is about what's in his healthcare plan and how he doesn't seem to know what's actually in the revised version of the healthcare plan. Now, it's becoming more and more obvious that he doesn't look at policy, he doesn't understand policy, and he either, well, I guess he either doesn't understand policy or he's just plainly lying about it. I guess you guys be the judge. Now, this comes from Vox, and Sarah Cliff writes, his responses to basic questions like what provisions the bill includes, and this is the AHCA, or how it would change the health insurance system, suggests he either doesn't understand how the AHCA works or doesn't want to tell the truth about it. Again, this is also, I mean, when you look at this interview, and we'll post a description. I couldn't get the videos to work, unfortunately, but man, you watch this, you realize this guy either doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, or he's doing a very, very poor job at misleading people. Now, personally, I think it's a little more than it's a little bit more A than B. Like he doesn't understand anything, and there's significant evidence, I believe, to back me up that Donald Trump is indeed a moron, a useful idiot. Now, he might even be dumber than George W. Bush. So, don't believe it when he goes and when he says,
and then they say, there's Donald Trump, an intellectual. Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Believe me.
All right, anyway, so let me give you some examples here. Now, Cliff notices that Dickerson basically, during this interview, he grilled him on some pretty basic questions. Not the politics of it, not like, oh, do you think it's going to get through Congress? Do you think you're going to win on this issue? No, talking about very basic policy issues that somebody who is the president, who's championing this bill, who wants to get it passed, should know what's in it. Okay. Now he says, look, yes, what elements are in the bill? What do you think of these of this? Now, Trump, he's like, well, the elements, what are you talking about? Pre-existing. I'm in favor of pre-existing, right? It's going to be protected. Well, no, that's actually not what's going to happen. Under the latest amendment to the AHCA, the one that got the Freedom Caucus on board, well, see, the thing is that the Freedom Caucus was against this bill unless they actually took the pre-existing conditions out nationally. See, that was something that they opposed. Well, now they're on board, which means that that provision actually can't be in there. But of course, he has no clue. No, he said, no, pre-existing conditions, that's in there. It's national. We're going to keep it in. Now, he also goes in to start talking about the high-risk pools, right? But high-risk pools are not the same as guaranteeing coverage for people with pre-existing conditions. It's not the same thing. Look, because of the high cost of these pools, and we've talked about this before, you're going to end up having some reduction in premium, but only because you're pricing older and sicker people out of the market. That seems to be the polar opposite of a guarantee. A guarantee means if you're old and sick and have a pre-existing condition, you're not going to lose your coverage. Under a high-risk pool, you'll get coverage only if you can afford it. If you only have access to these high-risk pools, but not enough money to be able to afford insurance through them, is that really a guaranteed coverage? I wouldn't think so. Now, Cliff points out that Trump knows there were some changes to the bill because he pays attention to Fox News and watches television, so he has to at least know that, right? But he seems to get them backwards. Trump insisted that the updates were to strengthen protections for people with pre-existing conditions, people who are sick. Quote, we now have pre-existing conditions in the bill. We've set up a pool for the pre-existing conditions so that the premiums can be allowed to fall. Again, alluding to high-risk pools. Well, again, it's not going to help people that are in these pools. The premiums are going to go up to, and this is according to studies, CBO projections, it's going to go up to about 750% above what it is now. That's insane. In another part, Dickerson also asked if pre-existing conditions would be optional for the states. Trump said, no, we're changing that. But again, in order to get the Freedom Caucus on board, they had to say, okay, we're going to do pre-existing conditions in the states and allow the states to make that decision. But Trump just reversed it and said, no, we're going to have national. We're going to get rid of the state requirement. and just do national. And then I eventually want to give it over to the states, but he doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? In order to get the Freedom Caucus on board, as I said, they had to support allowing these states to decide. Now, he's backtracking. He's getting rid of that. He's either changing his position, something that shouldn't be surprising, or is equally unsurprising. He doesn't understand what that actually means because he doesn't know policy. He doesn't read policy. He doesn't understand policy because he has the mental capacity of a 12-year-old. And that's being insulting to 12-year-olds, I realize. Now, I do apologize to those people. Look, he doesn't know. Either he's lying or he has no idea. Look, what he's proposing, what he's going out there and talking about, and what he talked about on the campaign trail is not the same plan. What he talked about is unicorns and pixie dust. And by the way, this is being treated as legitimate when like a real plan, say Medicare for all, was not being treated like it was something that's, real, that's legitimate. And that pisses me off to no end because Medicare for all is the real plan. That's what we should go to. And you know how it works? It works because it works in almost every single other industrialized nation in the world. If they can do it, the richest country in the world can do it. Now, it's funny, too, but sticking on the point of Medicare for all for a second, is that it would actually do all the things Trump wants it to do. Lower premiums. Actually, you wouldn't have premiums at all. So you'd have zero premiums. You just have to pay through taxes, which would actually still end up being cheaper because you're not paying for the overhead for corporate CEO bonuses or advertising fees, all those different things that create this giant overhead for private health insurance. And you would be able to cover everybody, and it would actually cost significantly less in the long run to be able to cover more people. Medicare is incredibly efficient. Opening it up for everybody would be the smart thing to do. But again, he doesn't know policy. He doesn't actually know that this is a better plan because he doesn't pay attention to details. He doesn't pay attention to facts. He just listens to Fox News, who regularly say, oh, we've got to do this. We got to sell insurance over state lines. We got to get rid of we got to send the stuff to the states, to the government, and the whatever. Okay. Now, President Trump also promises later on that his bill would lead to lower deductibles than the ACA. And get this, he's like, you know how we could do lower premiums? You know how we do better deductibles? Oh, because Obamacare is dead. That's why. What kind of answer is that? I definitely urge you to watch this interview. It is ridiculous. Now, he said, more importantly, we're going to drive down premiums. We're going to drive down deductibles because right now, deductibles are so high, unless you're going to die a long, hard death, you can never get to use your health care. What? Hey, man, unless you're going to die a long, hard death. No. First of all, you want to make sure you don't get to that point of dying a long, hard death. But once you get to that point, your health care is so high that you're not going to be able to afford it anyway. So, no. Look, it's been proven that older and sicker people are going to pay more under the AHCA. Those people dying those long, hard deaths, they're going to be paying out their ass. Just saying. It makes no sense. And not only that, but deductibles under the AHCA, they would not decrease, they would actually increase. According to the nonpartisan CBO, they did an analysis of this bill, and they write that they can expect that individuals' cost-sharing payments, including deductibles, in the non-group market would tend to be higher than those anticipated under current law. But again, tell me again how Obamacare is dead and failing. Well, first it was under a death spiral, now it's dead. It's actually very much alive, thank you, despite your actions. Now, the CBO expects that premiums would go down for some, mainly because older enrollees would be priced out of the market, as I mentioned before. CBO estimated, for example, that a low-income 64-year-old would see his or her premiums increase 750% under Trump care. There is no everyone wins under this plan. There is a healthy 20-year-old that will get cheaper premiums, but They'll only do so by being able to make premiums unaffordable for people who are older. That's even the American, like most of the American people are against that idea. Now, if you're a young asshole who doesn't care about grandpa and grandma and thinks they can go fuck themselves and die, well, the AHCA is perfect for you. Everyone else is going to hate it. And that's why you see all these town halls, people going crazy, like don't destroy Obamacare, fix it, or expand, go to Medicare for all. But of course, they're not going to do that. Now, another thing that Trump thinks in the bill, but actually isn't, the idea of selling insurance over state lines. That's actually a popular idea among conservatives, not exactly popular anywhere else. Now, during an exchange in this interview, Trump claimed that the ability for insurers to sell insurance across state lines was actually in the bill. It turns out, nope, it's not in the bill. Why? Because it likely couldn't pass through reconciliation, which is what they're actually trying to do to repeal and replace the ACA. All provisions need to have a direct effect on the federal budget to be considered in reconciliation. This does not. Now, Dickerson followed up by saying, hey, man, you realize this is going to have to pass through a separate bill that needs 60 votes. Trump's like, no, it'll pass. It'll quickly get approved. How's that going to happen? You're going to magically push it through? You're going to somehow get all the Democrats that are against this to suddenly vote for you or vote with you in your party? No, it's ridiculous. It's not going to quickly get through. It's bullshit. Look, and the reason that it's not going to go through, by the way, is because it's generally a bad idea. Allowing insurers to sell over state lines, sure, you can make it sound good, right? Oh, it's freedom. No, well, it's going to have the effect of making every insurance company flock to the least regulated states to do business. Now, basically, these least regulated states or low tax states, basically what it's going to mean is that you're going to have less protections as a consumer under these state laws. You buy insurance from an insurance company, they're going to be able to screw you over because they're going to have less oversight, less regulation. So, and again, regulation, all that is just rules, making sure that these companies can't take advantage of you. It is actually good to have rules. Now, all of this, of course, says that Trump is either lying to you or he's flat out an idiot. Now, me personally, I tend to bet on stupid, but again, it could be both. A look at his record, of course, shows incompetence, as well as a penchant to lie and defraud people. For example, lenders, clients, even students, even the Freedom Girls. Yeah, the Freedom Girls have sued Donald Trump because they didn't get paid. And of course, all the other things, I mean, Trump University. There's even that, where he screwed over students when it came to education. I mean, it's, look, either way, stupid, incompetent, or both. He is a danger to this country. That's why corporate Democrats, of course, need to get out of the way. If corporate Democrats are going to do the right thing and champion the right policies like single payer, Medicare for all, well, then they need to move out of the way and make room for progressives so we can take back Congress, the White House, and, you know, the state legislatures that you have lost, that you have bungled. Again, under corporate Democrats, we've lost 69 out of 99 state legislatures. We have lost the White House. We have lost Congress, both chambers, and the Supreme Court. It has been a disaster under corporate Democrats. Only progressives can actually go and win and fight Trump and beat Trump. Now, don't focus on impeaching the president. That's not going to happen. That's not going to lead to anything good. Why? Because we're just going to end up having President Mike Pence. And that is equally, if not more, terrifying than Donald Trump. If the Democrats want to beat this guy, you're going to have to run on a progressive populist platform. Stop taking corporate money. Start going in favor of a $15 minimum wage, a living wage, Medicare for all, tuition-free university, and all the other things that the American people actually want. And if you do that, I could guarantee that you will destroy the Republicans in almost every single election. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.